And we're back with our AL East division breakdown with the team that probably surprised the most heads last year in this division, the Baltimore Orioles. This is a team that is on the horizon. It's a team that's been in the cellar of the division for seemingly at least a decade. But the Baltimore Orioles, it's a team we could finally talk about, a team we could spend some time as they are in on the up and coming. The Baltimore Orioles, what were the additions we saw from this team? Let's break into it. Free agent signing, second baseman from the Padres, Adam Frazier joins this ball club as the new second baseman. Their backup catcher behind the young stud Adley Rutschman, former White Sox standout James McCann, as he was traded from the New York Mets. Into the rotation we go, adding Kyle Gibson from the Philadelphia Phillies. He will be slated in as that ace role for this Orioles team. And then Cole Irwin, a guy that they acquired from the Oakland Athletics. And finally, their bullpen, two additions. Michael Grivens, formerly a Cubs pitcher before he was dealt at the deadline to the Mets. He signed with the Orioles. And Andrew Patoli, but he was drafted in the Rule 5 draft in December. That is the additions for this Orioles team. Let's jump into the roster. Alex, why don't you lead us off? What do you got on this Orioles team?
Yeah, so I think one of the best storylines in baseball last year, because I think everybody was just excited to see the Orioles good again. And Camden Yards was kind of bumping for a little bit. They were in that playoff race for a little bit. They got hot. And Camden Yards is cool. And it's cool to see Baltimore has really good fans, but it's kind of been hard to be an Orioles fan, and I don't blame them for that. It's just like, you're not going to sell at the stadium when you're in the cellar, you know?
I agree.
So seeing that stadium with energy was a ton of fun. And it was spearheaded by Adley Rutschman. And Adley just kind of came to this team and looked like he was providing this winning mentality that you would expect a veteran to have, but this is a rookie. And he was just fantastic. He looked amazing. And I think the MLB community can't be high, or isn't higher on a player right now than Adley Rutschman. I think everybody's excited to see what he's going to do this year. Then you look at the rest of this lineup. It's really good. Cedric Mullins has discovered himself when he a couple years ago switched to just a full-time lefty and became great. One of the cool analytics approach changes in baseball the last couple of years. Gunnar Henderson, a top prospect who's going to be added into this lineup. Yep. Lefty hitting, power hitting, third baseman. Really excited to see what he will do. Anthony Santander, a masher. Ryan Mountcastle, another masher. Kyle Stowers, a guy who got some time last year with the Orioles. He had a heartbreaking for the White Sox, a game-tying homer that kind of broke our season. One of the many moments, I guess.
Yep. We'll get there. It'll
be interesting.
AL Central Division breakdown.
It keeps on, the whole lineup. I really like Austin Hayes, a guy who provides a pretty good bat, a balanced bat, and fantastic defense.
Was scorching hot. I don't remember what month it was. It was like June or July, maybe August, but. And I know I named pretty much all the months of summer, but no, Hayes was mashing the ball. Santander, I mean, as we've talked about in our other breakdowns, we're using Fangraphs for our projections this year. Thank you, Fangraphs. But no, yeah, Santander, they're predicting him for 31 long balls. So it's a powerful lineup that is looking to take the next step. I think you're going to get a full second season from Adley Rutschman, Cedric Mullins. What else do you got on this team?
I just think it's really good from top to bottom. They're well-rounded players. Even when you get to the bottom lineup, you have Adam Frazier, a guy who was highly sought after as a trade candidate, and it seemed like he was held on too long, and kind of just got traded for nothing to the Padres. Good player, kind of will bat for average. You're hoping he hits around 280, 300 if he's having a good season. I'm not sure he's going to give you that, but a bat that's not a joke, and a good fielder. He's versatile. And Jorge Mateo is just a pain in the ass at the bottom of this lineup. He gets on base, not at a great clip, but when he's on base, he's a menace. Oh,
they've got him for 24 stolen bases. It's a guy pitchers are going to have to be worried about, especially when you only have two throwbacks.
And he's a guy who, if you hit a soft ground ball to short and you're not playing well, if you're not playing clean defense against Jorge Mateo, he's going to get on base. He's going to turn a bloop single into a double.
Hey, someone who may benefit from the fact that someone's got to run a little bit longer with the new shift rules.
Yeah, he's a guy who just if the ball's in play, he's dangerous and he's a pain. And then if he gets on base, then you have Mullins and I love that he bats ninth for this team because that's where he should bat. But he's more impactful there. I really like this lineup. They seemingly have really changed the way their analytics department works. And they've been one of these teams that really has been finding diamonds in the rough lately. And if you're an Orioles fan, I don't know if there's a better site or a more exciting site than that, because you see what the Rays can do with such limited capital and be good and contending every year with analytics. The Orioles, from everything I've heard from players that go to that team, they've given interviews and saying, look, the way they told me how I'm playing is different than I've ever understood, and I'm better because of it. So if you have that working for you, I'm just expecting a lot from all these players. I expect them to perform to their full potential, which is one of the most exciting things that you can have as a baseball team. I wouldn't be surprised if this team finishes top 3 of this division. It's a gauntlet to get there, but they could. That's how excited I think I am, and also the baseball community is about the Orioles. So I really love this lineup. I think it provides a little bit of everything.
Yep. No, without a doubt, I think it begs the question of what can the consistency of the Tampa Bay Rays show up this season. A few injuries could throw things off. I think you're relying on some rookies to really step up for this Orioles roster. Let's take a look at the starting rotation. Revamped a little bit, obviously, at the 1-2. You will look to be adding John Means, hopefully the 2022 opening day starter for this roster, a guy who I believe had you have a perfect game that he pitched pretty late.
A perfect game or no-hitter, something like that. He had a really good start.
He had a great outing. But he looks to be returning from a season-ending injury last year. That will help the roster and the rotation. But the fact is, I think for this Orioles roster to take the step that they need to, this rotation needs to eat up innings, and they need to get guys out. If that happens, yeah, a third-place finish seems reasonable enough for this team, and it is an absolute step in the direction that this rebuild has been asking for. I mean, you're jumping 2 places in 2 years. I think that's a positive direction.
It is a positive direction. This rotation is the reason people aren't predicting this team to contend for the division. Because it's bad. I don't know if there's any way around that. You add Kyle Gibson. I don't really think he's a good ace. I actually know he's a pretty bad ace. Cole Irvin is a guy I'm kind of interested in. I watched him a couple times in Oakland, and he's kind of a crafty pitcher. I'm interested to see what they get out of him and Kyle Gibson. Because again, this is a point I'll hammer in with the Orioles. They're a team now. When a player goes to that team, you got to watch how they perform. And they're not going to hit on everyone, but you have to expect breakouts at this point because of what they did last year. And maybe that was just a flash in the pan. I don't think so. I think they're doing something. Grayson Rodriguez, top prospect, was the 11th pick in the 2018 draft, but he's kind of outperformed that draft pick. He's played really well. He's like a top 50 prospect in baseball. It'll be interesting to see what he does. I'm not too familiar with his game yet. But I know he's got a lot of pedigree. Will be interesting to see if he can kind of carry the load more. If he has a breakout, maybe we look at this rotation a little bit differently. Still a lot of work to do here. I just don't think it has the upside of a good rotation MLB, or a great rotation, which is what you need to really contend. But I'm more so interested to see what they get out of these players.
Well, if you could get 20, 25 starts out of Grayson, that would be excellent. I think if we go back to the projections, it's 4 out of 5 starters: Dean Kramer, Kyle Bradish, Cole Irvin, and Kyle Gibson. All guys that are slated to probably be over a 4 ERA. I know ERA is not as looked at anymore as it was. It's a scary thought. I think they gotta limit how many runs this team's allowing. It's a tough division in the fact that you gotta face the Rays as much as you do, the Yankees as much as you do. The Red Sox, even though it's seemingly a weird year maybe in the horizon for them, and all the teams in this competitive AL East, if we had to look at an X factor for the Baltimore Orioles.
Hold on, I need to go to the bullpen first here.
I've done it again. It's something against my bullpen on our AL East division breakdowns.
But there's a couple points I need to discuss with this bullpen. First off, Felix Bautista is one of the nastiest closers in baseball. He doesn't have the name recognition, plays for the Orioles. It just hasn't developed that reputation yet in general, but he's got this splitter that's just disgusting. I mean, it's 98 and he buzzes it all around the zone, and then the splitter's like 90 and it drops like a foot. Unhittable when he's on his game, just straight up unhittable. It's a really good thing for a young team to have a closer that's not going to blow games, and he'll blow a couple, but I think they're in a really good position there. Then the other guy I got to talk about, because at the trade deadline he was a commodity, ended up going to the Mets last year. But Michael Givens has a unique little tidbit about him. He is the kryptonite to Mr. Aaron Judge. I think it's something like 11 at-bats versus Aaron Judge, 10 strikeouts, no hits. So he's truly Aaron Judge kryptonite.
There's a little answer for when you face the Yankees as much as you do in a division battle.
I think it's interesting. Are they just going to be ready to throw Michael Givens when any Aaron Judge at bat? That's what I would do. I'll tell you that right now. I would be ready to throw Michael Givens and just try to neutralize Aaron Judge. Who knows if that will continue, but the track record so far is fantastic that Aaron Judge can't see him.
Yeah.
And I think when you're competing with the Yankees so much, because that's how the regular season works in baseball, you play your own division a lot, it's going to be an interesting storyline. And I think it's just something you got to watch because it's it's a fun storyline about baseball. How a pitcher who's been like a middling reliever, really good at times, but Michael Givens not like a closer by any means. All of a sudden, just has something against the best hitter in baseball.
Yep.
What's going to happen there? I'm excited to watch that. And you see a lot of his bullpens like waivers, Rule 5 draft. These guys are becoming Rule 5 and waiver merchants. And that, again, when you talk about it again, analytics department. Are they truly becoming Rays type Rule 5 merchants? Because if they are, again, Orioles fans, be excited.
Yeah. No, without a doubt. Apologies for skipping the bullpen. I got to say, though, I think Bautista and Givens are really the only two names that deserve recognition on this bullpen. As we've said, the rest of the guys kind of being waivers or Rule 5 draft pickups. We'll see what happens. The Orioles, they're going to need to eat up innings. I think that, again, I still see pitching as the biggest X factor for this team. And that's going to be my X factor. Pitching. Okay. You got to keep limits to how much you're giving up, the innings you're eating, how many innings are your starters going to go. Are they going to average 6 innings? I think that helps a tremendous amount. Allow the bullpen to eat up 3-4 innings at max. That's a huge help for 162.
I like it. I think you're totally right. I think one thing that benefits the pitching, I think this team's going to play really good defense. And I think they have a lot of contact, especially in the rotation, a lot of play to contact pitchers. And I think obviously good fielding helps that a lot. So yep. I wonder if that's a strategy they're going for or not. But I like the call there. I think that makes a lot of sense. With my X factor, I'm going to go Gunnar Henderson. And I think the obvious choice because he is that top prospect.
Yep.
But he's also going to be asked to do a lot right away. Fangraphs at least are projecting him to be the third hitter. Third hole behind Adley and in front of Anthony Santander. Why I'm a little bit concerned about this is not that he doesn't have a lot of talent and that he couldn't be great. I think he's one of the favorites for Rookie of the Year.
Pressure.
It's pressure. And what if he doesn't translate to MLB? He got a taste of it last year, but what if he's like Jared Kelenic, a guy who everyone thought was gonna just ball out when he came and he didn't? All of a sudden, you have this top prospect who you're probably gonna give him too many opportunities if he has a cold start to the year. Does that hurt your win total at the beginning of the year? And then what do you do? What do you do from there? What if he's batting 180 a month into the season? And you're sitting there like, oh, do we send this guy down who we expected to be a starting third baseman? I just think he's got a lot of pressure for a guy. I'm not sure I love that he's up there in the lineup with a lot of good hitters there, but I get it at the same time. He's just got to come through. It's as simple as that. If this lineup's going to be what it can be, it's going to need to have him playing a big role because they're throwing him in it.
Without a doubt. Rookies, it's an expectation that this Orioles team could kind of afford. The fact is, it's been a rebuild for as long as we started this conversation with, and it allows them to kind of give these chances to young players that might be the future of their organization, like Adley Rutschman last year, this year Gunnar Henderson. So I like the pick. Predictions. You've already said the Rays. You've got the Rays finishing third. We've kind of got the 1-2 locked up. Depending on some consistency, depending on some injuries, and depending on some long season baseball. Could this Orioles team sneak into that third place spot? Maybe find themselves on a little bit of a second wild card spot? What are you thinking? Where's your prediction with this team?
It's tough because I want to... So I have 1, 2, 3 fields. I'm kind of boring in how I did that, unfortunately. But that's the case. Mm-hmm. So it's debating, are they going to finish above the Red Sox right now? I want to say yes, but I'm a little concerned that maybe this team takes a step back. Maybe these analytics darlings that they found last year aren't going to be the same. I think Adley Rutschman is the guy who gives Adley, Santander, Mullins. I like their lineup a bit too much. I'm going to go with fourth, and I think they're going to contend for a wild card and come up slightly short.
So a little bit of a repeat of this year, or the past season.
But progress. I think I just don't see enough in the rotation right now. and I think it could perform well. Again, the good fielding can help that. I just don't think they're there yet.
Oh, I agree with you. I hope for the sake of this team that if they could finish in third and sneak into the playoffs, it'd be a very exciting team to watch in the postseason. But it's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressures on a lot of young guys. Like I said, my X factor being the pitching. I don't know if I've got it to being enough to beat the Rays out. I'm not saying I don't want that to happen. Honestly, I'd love to see the Orioles finish in the top of this division, but I just don't see that happening. That being said, feel free to comment if you're any Orioles fans out there. We missed anything you think may be the X factor to this Orioles postseason run. Feel free to comment on our YouTube channel. Check us out on Instagram. Check us out on all social media platforms. Anything that I missed on Orioles Breakdown, Alex?
Now, be excited, Orioles fans. I'm excited. I think the baseball community is excited.
Yep, absolutely. Moving on to our final team in the AL East, the Boston Red Sox.